He retires. He didn't go with me. I went with my friends, you know. Yes, we all over. And I said to him, he's talking about retiring. I said, we're going for like 3 or 4 weeks.
I'm just
Yeah,
like,
I just
there
want to
wasn't that
spend.
much of a book.
It's really fun. But I, like, it hurt and stuff, but I think it was like.
Elizabeth,
We're
you
trying
can
to-
also, if you see somebody trying to say something and I'm just.
Karen, I
going
just
right
read
by,
2 more
Please
books.
don't be shy.
That's the whole spiel in that.
Cause it's,
But
Yeah, my-
we started here and then it wasn't that.
Yeah.
They're kind of small, they feel like, oh, it's topic.
Hmm.
Cause I laughed and I was like,
I
oh,
do like
it's
to
really
read
bad.
books
And I feel
places
like
like that, because you can kind of, it's almost like you can locate yourself in the story.
I've read for the cake. I've
Yeah,
had
how's
for
things
Thursday
going for you?
books too, cause he.
Yeah.
Okay. And he has
Not,
one
not
on
nothing
the
broken.
I like reading about it when I can go and
That's
visit.
good.
Yeah,
It's fun.
I know. It's
I'm
There's
this is
some
one
mail.
for dance competition first, one of the season this
First thing
weekend.
mail is
Okay.
in my head.
And
But there's a
since
person
being the
named
oldest one,
Mail
I'm taking the
who
oldest
writes
one out,
about the Connecticut shoreline. Everything takes place in the
Yeah,
Connecticut.
yeah.
You know?
They
No,
were here.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've not read them, but I've heard they're pretty good.
So again, no social security numbers. So we haven't quite started yet. We will wait until the 7 o'clock hour. We're right there. But did I start now or not yet? Start now? Okay, then I am gonna start now. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the Lucy Robbins Wells Library Board of Trustees meeting for Monday, March 10th. We have some folks online as well as in the room. We'll start off with roll call. Elizabeth, if you'd be so kind. Sure.
George Bernacco,
Here.
Andy Parker, Kelly DeHaas. Here. Jason Hipp,
Present.
Anna Eddy,
Here.
Peggy Myrie,
Here.
Colleen Crook, Iris Larson, Leanne Minky,
Here.
Maureen O'Connor Lyons,
Here.
Chris Riley,
Here.
Christine Shushin,
Here.
Diane Sam,
Here.
Lisa Maston, Karen Benner,
Here.
Sheila Rowell,
Here.
David Nagel,
Here.
and Kim Rana. That's all.
Thank you. Public participation. Do we have anybody online for public participation? No? I don't see any general public in the room. So I will move on to town councilors. Dave Nagel, do you have anything to share with us at this point?
I sound like a broken record. March 15th, 9 AM is when the council will be meeting Saturday morning to go over a large section of the budget, presented by the town manager. And, I believe, the library is 3rd or 4th on the list. So hopefully it'll be sooner in the morning for those of you who wish to attend rather than later.
So that it starts at 9,
It starts at 9.
Which day was that again?
Saturday? the 15th?
Saturday, the 15th,
Okay.
this coming Saturday.
Oh, this coming, April,
Yes.
April, okay.
No,
No,
March.
oh, boy.
Oh, March.
March,
Sorry.
yeah.
This weekend.
Okay.
Yeah,
This
this
weekend.
this weekend.
This
Hopefully, we'll be fairly done with it by April
Okay.
at that particular time, not quite. Tomorrow night, the council starts looking at the budget during the regular meeting. Just as a matter of fact, it may be important to you or not, on the agenda that was sent out to the public and to us council members, the Board of Education was not listed. And it was found that it wasn't, and I believe late yesterday, we were informed that the Board of Education will present their budget to the council. That has gone out, so if anyone cares to watch tomorrow, or to be there in person, the Board of Ed is presenting theirs as well as everything else on the agenda. And I believe that's the kind of most important, so, when we're going to discuss your part of the budget. I believe the budget is going to be finalized on, don't say that I'm absolutely right about this, I think the 22nd of April is the final time that the council gets to decide, not decide, whatever, in terms of what the final outcome will be.
Okay, so, and the agenda is posted for Saturday's meeting when?
9 AM on the 15th this coming Saturday, the 15th.
No,
Is
the,
the agenda already available?
On the agenda, an agenda was put out for tomorrow, an agenda was put out, online, correcting it. And the one on Saturday, I've not received one, but it is just the budget and it may be on the town site. It was passed, by the council for agenda to be moved in past council sessions. So I assume it's on the town site.
All right, so we'll
Usually
look
that
on the town
day
site
they
to
have
see who's ahead of
copies
us
of
on
the agenda on the list. How quick and how lengthy, the process moves along depends upon the department and what council members want to ask or not ask.
Or what departments,
Yes,
are there.
that's why I emphasized. you
Some have
towards the
more
beginning.
discussion than others.
Yes,
Okay, so normally I ask as many board members as possible to come, and be present in the room on budget day if there's questions, and what have you, or just to show support, as we did for the, presentation of, whatever, but if it starts at 9 AM and we're not first up, you can get your coffee and then come. And sit in the room, so that's why I was looking to see. the
it has to
agenda.
be treated as a special
Usually
council
3 days
meeting,
before,
so it's
3 or 4 days.
separate things. So
Right.
there will be that brief
Get it on
format and then
Friday
the
or
only
Tuesday
topic
maybe.
is the budget for that day.
Yeah, I don't see it on the calendar on the town website, let alone an agenda or anything, so, for
Okay,
Saturday.
so we'll figure that out or keep our eyes open for it and,
Something else to ask the town manager about.
all right, there you go. And it's nice for us just to be there, especially Lisa or, whatever, if they have questions on some of the things that we're asking, but did we ask, Leanne, what did we ask for in addition?
Hold on, I can get my notes. We asked for 2 increases for the, increase in the data services, which is the connect fee, and increase in circulating materials, which I think is a 5% increase. The overall increase to the budget with the staff increases is 6.75%.
Yeah, but that's staff, we don't. we
Yeah,
don't
that's
have
with the,
any
that's with the
control over
payroll
staff.
increases with the union contract, et cetera.
Yeah, okay, so that's, if they have questions on what that.
Well, it's
money is for.
primarily the data services, the connect fee and the circulation, which hasn't gone up in 10 years, so. And that's $8,800.
Okay. So that's what's going on there. All right, thank you. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Leanne. Any questions for Dave? Secretary's report, George?
I don't have anything to report.
Okay, thank you.
excuse me, Diane, you wanna mention Iris now? Or George?
Yeah, I could. So George and for the rest of the board, we found out that, Iris Larson fell and broke her hip. I'm not exactly sure where she is. She was at Bone and Joint. I don't know if she's there. I don't know if she's going to rehab, but, we'll get an address that we can send cards to or anything else. I don't know the details, but probably not gonna be able to. So I'll reach out to you, George, so, you can know what's happening for that. Thank you, Maureen. Okay, next up would be approval of minutes. Does anybody have any corrections or missing items from last month's minutes? Any changes? In online, I don't see anything. Okay. I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Christine Shuchen,
I'll second one.
Chris Riley. You guys just do that to me on purpose, right?
Chris.
All right, all those, any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed?
I abstain. I wasn't here.
Thank you,
This
George.
is George Bernaco. I abstain.
Thanks, George. Okay, motion to approve the minutes passes. Review of the annual events calendar. For March, it's early March, so we had our 5K race meeting already. We are talking about the library budget and attending the meeting, which is this Saturday, as that comes up. The Hanel concert, this is nice, everything's checking off on this list. The Hanel concert was Friday. Thank you for those of you that could go. Leanne, thank you for introducing.
Yes, thank you.
I couldn't be there, but I heard that it was very nice.
And I manned the board at the beginning, the trifold.
You manned the board, thank you very
At the
much.
beginning, I know Leanne probably took after.
That's good.
One of the things we're gonna start trying to do, I think, is bring that trifold out and keep a suggestion box by it. Just to encourage people to walk by, ask questions, toss something in there. Sheila had suggested that maybe we wanted to put it out at the book sales and what have you. And again, that's library centric people adding things in, but we might as well get it out a little bit and see things. And we'll have to figure out from a publicity standpoint, how to reach, the wider circle of folks in our community, but at least now it reminds people what's going on, gives them a chance to, easily give us a suggestion.
And the other thing too is I'll have to check with Michelle, but she took some pictures and I took some pictures
did
of
too.
people and you did too, so I'll have to kind
I
of collect
didn't
them.
know where to send them. You?
Yeah, might as well send them to me, then I can kind of sort through and see how we can put them together.
Christine was manning I was pushing, she was manning the picture, so I haven't even looked
Okay.
at them. You probably have a lot bad when she told me to get pull my butt. Did I? I said, just what I need. There it is.
Are we renovating or not? Anyways, it was a delightful evening from everything that I heard, so, that's very nice. Just a reminder that when we do have those Hanel events, it's good to, invite legacy members, just to make them aware that that's going on, and if they're in the area, they can attend.
It'd be
And
nice if we could have a more youthful, presentation in the future.
Yeah.
Because I found it a little stodgy, to just say. The
the concert?
Yeah.
Okay,
It
so,
was great for people that were Irish.
Oh, you're talking about the
music,
specific.
like, and the sound system was terrible. It was really hard to, I was like, what? And I was like, it needs to be more,
so
a little bit more.
the rules for the Hanel concert is that it needs to be a cultural event, but I
Yeah.
encourage anybody to come up with anything. I mean, we've
Well,
done,
what about for kids?
Well, we can do
What
kids.
about an event for kids, like Shakespeareans, they do Shakespeare plays, but in a youthful way. To show,
Anna
they
and
do
I
it
have
different.
been discussing different,
Okay,
events.
okay, so
and-
let's postpone this discussion to
Yeah.
Hanel.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes, we can do anything that's cultural, think about it, and when we get down to
Yeah.
Hanel on the list, we'll
okay.
We'll
'cause
get
I-
into that. cause the feedback is very good. And we just need more people and more ideas to figure out what's happening there. Okay, so that's what I had on the activities calendar. We'll move on to the treasurer's report with Leanne Mankey.
Okay, I sent it out. You can see it's a little different because in the course of this past month, we have moved the Hanel monies out of the restricted income and put it in its own place, so it can be treated as it should be as an endowment. We are able to use principal and interest for the Hanel, but now it's at least not going to be confused with everything. So there is a whole separate line item in here when you start going through it. The checking account unrestricted fund is at $45,431.61. The money market, which is a portion of the restricted funds, $48,448.85. The non-investment account at Kingston is at $422,612.27. The investment account has shifted, that's where we pulled the Hanel out, and the balance now that's in there is unrestricted and restricted funds combined in terms of investment portfolio, $420,968.99. And the Hanel, the start of the account obviously was a zero balance, funds were moved around, there's been some earnings and whatever that have the adjustments. So we have $423,549.57 at the end of February in Hanel. All reimbursements from the restricted funds were made at that point, And then, I gave you last month's restricted, unrestricted funds as well as this month, so you have a comparative because we now have that new, Canal endowment breakout. The Margaret Hooker endowment, which we cannot access the principal, but we can use any income and gains for for unrestricted use, is currently at $375,753.61. And, there was no changes from last month. We had received the, we had received the Donald Johnson portion of the trust. I still haven't heard from probate, and that could take another couple of years, so we'll see what happens with that. I am gonna ask for a motion later on. We changed out our vice president, and, we need to change out signatures at the bank. So, we need to have meeting minutes that reflect that Maureen is pulled out of the account, Diane and I are on the two accounts, and that Chris will be added to the account, so as vice president. So I can take it to the bank and we can do all the new signature cards.
Only Chris is involved. I don't need to.
You don't have to go, we can just
Yeah.
take you off, but it has to be said in the minutes
Yeah.
that you're being removed, and then we can add Chris, and Diane and I have to go back and re-sign because it's a new card for two accounts.
So we'll ask for that under new business where it is on the agenda. Thank you. Any questions for Leanne?
I have a
Any questions
question.
on- Thank you, go ahead.
Diane, I have my
Go
hand
ahead.
up.
Yep.
Thank you. So I must have been asleep for all these years. I'm looking at the treasurer's report, Leanne. Can you explain to me what the difference is on some of this terminology? I'm looking at money market et al. And Kingston Wealth Management, non-investment unrestricted funds. What is non-investment? I thought all these things were.
It's primarily, it's more fluid, things like, CDs, they're more fluid vehicles for cash.
Okay, all right.
So that we're not tied up in the stock market in terms of, that type of thing. That's primarily the difference there. The investment
Okay.
account has stock investments.
But those vehicles for the cash earn interest,
Right.
so it's not just sitting.
Is there a different term that we can put there instead of non-investment? It sounds like, the money's sitting there stagnant with that terminology. I mean, I don't have a suggestion for you.
To be honest with you, that's one thing that, we've been talking about doing under investments is renaming these, because we started out with 2 and then we had 3 and now we have 4. So it's a lot easier for calling things Hanel, Hooker and whatever, so people know where they're going from.
Yeah.
Obviously the operating checking account, not necessarily, but, some of the accounts with Kingston, even Kelly and I, when we're looking at the statements, are going, wait a minute, which ends in what number? So we want to put some names to it, but that, we were going to address that at the investment meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Great, good suggestion. Sounds like it's in line with what they're thinking. Any other questions for the treasurer's report? All right, thank you, Leanne. I'm gonna ask Karen Benner to give the combined library director and assistant library director report. You're on.
Okay. Well, the librarian 1 position that was open, the full-time position, has been filled. Julia Mazer, she is a part-time person in the children's department, is going to fill that position. We are really excited about it. Was a competitive interview process. We always have good candidates, but Julia did an amazing job. So this means that her part-time position is going to be open. So we have already posted for that, the closing for that, and we posted internally. And when we say internally, it's not just within the library, it goes on the town website and it gets posted at the town hall. So we do get outside inquiries as well. That closes, I believe, on the 19th of this month. Julia is starting her position on the 17th, which is next Monday, right? Next Monday. And just to mention that it is the position in collection management. However, there's a new aspect to it, which is also community services. So helping Michelle with some of the outreach stuff and
you will most likely see her at your events, Julia. So, you know, we really needed that extra help in that area, so that's gonna be really nice. Jill Levin is the new circulation substitute. I think we mentioned last meeting that she started, she's trained, she's doing well. The reference office redesign is almost finished. It looks amazing in there. For those of you, I think most of you probably have seen that office before. The green paint is now like a cream color. There's new carpeting. It's beautiful. There's actually a heater in there. Those guys were, I can't even, it was in the high 50s when they were working in there. It was crazy. So there's a heater in there now. So we're just waiting for the furniture. So it's really, and just a shout out to facilities, because they really did a good job.
Once every 50 years, whether we need it or not.
And then just to mention the remediation project with the biographies along the back wall. We removed all of the books. This is kind of a little fun story. We had talked to Dorothy Russell, who's the head of our collection management, very like analytical. And we're like, hey, can you kind of come up with a great way for us to get all of these books off of here? You know, Lisa and I were talking about putting them in bins. Well, Dorothy came up with a plan, she marked it out there, and literally we were done in a half an hour. So if they are all in study room 3, they're in order alphabetically, patrons can go in and access the books. So that was the beginning of last week. I believe Thursday, the actual remediation process happened. They came in and cleaned the books. Did you have a question, Chris?
Sorry, I didn't mean to
That's
interrupt,
okay.
but I was just curious, were any of the books not salvageable? I
I have not heard that. This
Okay.
happened on Thursday and I was out Friday and then
Okay.
I actually haven't really seen Lisa today because our
There-
schedules were.
I have a report
Do you?
for my part. Yeah,
Okay.
continue.
And
And you have to wait.
now staff, Dorothy, is coming up with a plan on how we're going to put the books back. Because we can't use that top shelf, we're gonna have to do a lot of shifting. So, you know, it's kind of like all hands on deck. So we're moving along with that. Just a mention, we are working on expanding our library of things. We will get into more detail once we have it nailed down, but DVD player, a CD player, pickleball set, a hiking kit, a tool kit. So we're kind of excited about that, getting that out for the spring so that it's available for people. And we finished our first year of our virtual author talks. That has gone really well. And don't want to take anything from Sheila's report, but I do want to say that the Friends are going to be funding that, and we are very excited about it. And I think that's it for me. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions besides the remediation things? No? Okay, I'll just, put in, look, I had a whole nice long report on remediation stuff. But, the part that you didn't know, there were a few books that did not make it through the cleaning process, and Dorothy is, evaluating whether or not those books are to be replaced or maybe substituted for something else. So, one of the biggest challenges is going to be getting everything back because we don't have those top 3 shelves.
Yeah.
So that's also something that Dorothy is going to be doing. But I think it speaks well to the staff that they were able to figure out a way to still have availability for the books rather than having them in bins in a room. Then it's like, sorry, until this is all cleaned and done. So it was contained, everything was done. The one thing that we need to do, especially since our last presentation to the board, is collect the cost on this. And I don't know if insurance is involved or anything else like that, but we need to track that cost of what it was. I think through work orders and stuff like that, it's gonna be tracked, but that's just one of the things that the counselors were interested in, is every time something like this happens, is, you know, what's the cost? Yeah. So,
There's also the indirect cost of the staffing.
absolutely, there's all of that, but you know, how many books were lost, were they replaced, what's that cost, what was the cost to come in? You know, did insurance pay for it, did we not claim it on insurance because the deductibles are higher than the cost of, whatever, so. Somewhere we need to, get that done, but kudos, to the staff and to the facility staff for, making that happen the way they did. So that's the answer. Yeah, some books went to book heaven. Some didn't make it out.
This still sounds like a majority made it through.
The majority made it through, they were cleaned and they were able to be put back, or will be able to be put back.
And when patrons are looking for the books, are they on like a separate list so that, you know, to go into the study room for those, or?
So we have the door open
Okay.
and we have kind of a welcome sign on there.
Okay.
So we're directing patrons in there. They're on carts in the exact same way that they were on the bookshelf, very
Okay.
easy to find. When we pull our holds in the morning, same thing for staff. We can just go in there and pull the holds, so.
Okay, because I know some people like using the catalog online, or thinking, they'll point them to location, I just want to know, are they?
Yeah, that's not reflected
Oh,
in the
no,
catalog.
I figured
but-
as much, but as long as there's a way
Yeah.
they can find them.
Okay, good. Thank you, Karen. Where am I on this? Friends of the library, Sheila.
Well, speaking about, getting heat in places, we now have heat in the basement. So we're sorting without blue fingers, which is lovely. I haven't actually been down there.
How long were you without heat? Forever?
Oh,
Years.
always.
So how did we get heat now?
They put something in.
So when
Last week.
facilities did the reference office redesign,
Mhm.
we said, hey, by the way, same situation, only worse downstairs, where these guys are working with their coats and hats on. And so they actually did the same thing. They put the same heater down there. I haven't been down.
I haven't, I was there when he was putting it in, but they
You
were still
haven't
working on
gotten the
it when I
benefit.
left, so I haven't.
So we now have a
haven't seen it,
heated basement
We
for
now have a
our,
heated
our
basement.
friends.
but-
Yeah, they'll
yes.
probably be up to all of Toasty 62.
Well, that's better than 52.
Oh, I know.
So everybody is really thrilled about that.
I bet. I was unaware that there was actually no heat down there.
Well, there's grills there that something must have been coming through because, about once a year, I ask Lisa to get them cleaned because there's all this black stuff around them. And we did that this year too. Occasionally something comes through it, but when I say occasionally, it's like maybe Tuesday and Friday. But it's been really cold down there to work.
Again, kudos to the friends for working in those conditions, and I'm glad that facilities was able to get the heat set up. Thank you.
We're starting to work on, our book sale, getting things ready. We have, set up a donation day on the 12th. We put out a notice, that said we're looking for donations in all ways, shapes, or forms, anytime, that they can put them here, but we'll have a donation day on Saturday, April 12th. So from 11 to 4, we'll have people here to take them, from their cars, or if anybody has big
Oh, so they can
donations
just
to
drive
do.
up?
So they can just drive up. We'll have outside people there to grab them from them. So, hopefully we can get some, from that. I just learned that unfortunately, Maria, our treasurer, is not going to be staying with us.
Oh, no.
She is actually finding this, taking too much time from her. It was more than she thought it was going to be. So we'll be, looking for someone to replace that. And I think that's.
You cannot have me in. Just saying. Stay right out there.
We're fun.
I know you are.
We cannibalize our people.
Just bring it home.
Yeah, I gotta bring it home. That's right, I know how to handle all seasons.
Yeah, well, you can't, would you do mittens?
Did you know Anne Marino is we should mention?
Go ahead.
Anne Marino, most of you are
Yeah.
new. She was a longtime friend,
Yes.
active volunteer, and gosh, I think I've known her since I started here a couple of years ago. And, she passed away recently.
Thursday, wasn't it? Last Thursday, I believe.
Thursday and Friday.
Was she home? Does anybody know?
I don't know any
think she-
details,
I
but
don't know, but I thought
I
when Jason
haven't
was
seen
talking,
her.
I don't think she was home, sure.
because I know she was very active also at the First Church. And,
Thrift store.
she was always doing something.
Yeah.
She was membership chair of your group for
Forever,
years.
yeah.
Yeah, when I first started, she was still, she was.
Some of the
still
old
working
guard.
there.
Mhm.
Thank you for remembering her and thank you for your report. Appreciate that. Any other questions for friends? No? Okay, we'll move into committee reports, budget.
I only have one thing to add to everything that Dave said. For those of you who get the rare reminder, last week there was a printout about what the, what was requested by the departments versus what the town manager is proposing. And just so you know, the library's at its request level with the town manager's proposed. So we'll see where it goes and encourage you to be there on Saturday. Unfortunately, I'm helping my daughter move into a new house in Massachusetts on Saturday, so I will not be there. So I hope there will be other folks sitting in attendance and giving Dave the eye.
I give the look back.
That's right.
Dave doesn't meet the eye.
I know, but just kind of take everybody in.
It always helps when they see that we are committed and interested.
Well, Lisa is the spokesperson.
Yes, we don't have to
Yeah,
talk.
we don't.
We're just there to, be the
we'll never
silent
speak, we're
cheerleading
just there
section.
for support.
And that's all I have on budget.
Thank you. PEP, Pauline is out. Maureen, can you share?
Yes, we had a PEP meeting on February 26th. It was a Zoom meeting. And, Pauline, George, Kelly, Christine, and myself were in attendance. So there were 3 procedures that we need to evaluate that we didn't actually have on hand, but they include the one about the photographic equipment used by non-library staff because of that incident with that person.
The First Amendment, so thing.
Yeah. And a book removal, policy,
Right.
you know,
taking out
for
the existing
banning
one.
and, and one of the things that Pauline asked the committee to do was review the trustee manual to check for all the policies and procedures to see if, we could see what might need the major tweaking, redoing, even down to grammatical errors, something like that. And then it was also suggested that a copy of the Town of Newington Information and Guidelines for boards, commissions, and committees in the Code of Ethics, chapter 32, Town of Newington, be placed in our manual for reference. Now, one of the discussions that ensued, when a town appointee is sworn in by the town clerk, they have to sign that they've, receipt that they've read all these documents, and one of them is the Code of Ethics. Now, what we discussed was there's a library code of conduct that we all sign,
Well, there's a code of ethics that we signed.
and for a code of ethics, but somebody thought that only corporate members sign it, and I think it's
No,
inclusive.
everybody.
It's inclusive,
The
okay, I
code-
wanted to
Yeah, the
verify.
code of ethics is inclusive to everybody on the
Yeah.
board, but we were wondering if like the code of conduct
Yeah.
that
But
the
it-
town appointed members are signing off on and authorizing is also part of what the corporate trustees.
Yeah,
Corporate, I don't know, I think you get into murky ground there because corporate does not report to the town. I mean, we report to, but we aren't,
No, but
we are a separate entity.
I know, but I think the crux was that our code of conduct is read and signed by everybody
Oh, yes.
on the board.
Yeah, it's-
So if the town has a separate one, that they use for the town appointees, that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that was just a clarification, really. So some of the changes to the manual will include a new policy on an emeritus position. And George and I are working on that, but George, just FYI, there's some really good information online that we can cherry pick from. I won't use the word plagiarize. Oh.
You're gonna rep, but yeah, you know, there's no sense in reinventing the wheel
Yeah.
if there's already policies in place that other boards use. And the information I read, some were specific to libraries, some to just other corporate boards, and it's pretty cut and dried.
Good.
So we'll get that going. The attendance policy is going to be reviewed and updated by Kelly and Christine. And Diane Stam will be asked to find a clean copy of the code of conduct that we sign to be placed in the trustees manual. So, it was a pretty efficient meeting. We didn't discuss a next meeting. I personally would like to see that we do a meeting in person. So we
Yeah.
have stuff in front
Yeah,
of us.
and I asked Karen for a new copy of my manual because I can't find it.
Yeah, I will need one too, and yeah, we
God
work on
knows
it
what I did
too.
with it. I had
So what
it.
do they get in their manual?
To see if mine is.
We have a long list, it's off the top of my head, definitely the policies. They get established, what's that?
Bylaws,
The bylaws.
There it is, there it is.
A list of that, yeah, there you go, yeah.
That's what
I
I
can
put
send you the list of what.
I will keep looking for it.
So
I
if you're sending it to them.
It's the
if it's
ACLB.
all Electronic, just copy me on it, because I'd like to know what they're,
Okay.
because if I've gotta
I
find the
think I
clean
saw
copy of the code of conduct, I want to know.
I know
if it's
where
in
it's
there
at
or
the
not in
time.
there.
Well, this is the library.
You have
That's
the
ours,
index there in front of you, yeah, you do. As to what's in there or no?
I gotta keep looking.
Well, so I have my little tabs, so the ACLB handbook is in here.
Yeah.
The current bylaws, there's no second copy, original bylaws, Bill of Rights, and board and staff list.
No
But
trustee
no
handbook?
policies or,
I have the
Bylaws,
bylaws, but no
policies.
other, there's no other.
okay, so that whole, I think then that whole handbook,
The trustee
our
handbook?
trustee handbook will need to be
Oh.
truly updated.
Yeah, I don't have, I've never seen any
But
policies.
From the Patty Cole, yeah,
Okay.
I have a copy of that.
I thought I had two books.
I think.
I don't know where they are.
Well, I have a book that
I don't know
was
why.
what I got when I originally came
Two,
on
right?
years ago, and then I got another book that, Laurel kept
Yeah,
giving us.
That was the ACLB, but then we also had the trustee handbook.
Yes, yeah, and
so
that
I
was just
have
a.
two books. I don't know where I put them.
We may have to recreate.
Yeah, so that's what's in the trustee handbook that gets handed out.
Because I
now.
know what
So
I
if you have a
have,
separate
but-
policy when I,
Yeah, you know, Lisa and I were talking about this because I think I think maybe Christine or Pauline asked me more maybe for you. About a policy and procedures manual, and we could not remember.
We don't really
There
have one. I
being
think we
one.
just have individual policies that have never been collated.
Integrated.
So that's
Yeah.
that's probably one of the things that we'll need
Okay.
to do.
So I'll send out a copy of the trustee handbook that I have. That was a work in progress, but it was going on and it was done by Pat before Laurel came on board and coordinated with ACLB. But the bylaws are what we go by when it comes to, you know, how many town appointed members versus
Right.
corporate members versus all of that. That's in the bylaws, as that comes through. So, it's good that Pep's meeting again, because it sounds
But
like
we
we have a lot
probably
of
should
documents
have
that
stuff
might
to do.
be.
A repository for all the policies and
Absolutely.
procedures, and as new, you know, everybody should have
I agree.
the same thing. And then as new ones are created or
Can put 'em in
existing
the book.
ones are,
Just for clarification,
Changed.
would you be looking to have it all in that one handbook? Is that
If
what
It
you're
would,
asking?
if it,
well,
it will
Ideally,
fit
it would
nicely,
fit.
yes, but.
I don't
not
know, we might
necessarily.
wanna put policies and procedures in a separate.
the only thing is, and again, I'm speaking because of my own inability to keep track of things, I guess. I've been around way too long, so I have boxes of stuff. And,
things-
so inevitably what happens is because I'm not utilizing that all the time, it kind of gets stuck
Yeah.
farther back in a box. I have the working box, I have last year's that I'm in and out of for the treasury, and then I have my own stuff. But my own stuff box now is 3 boxes, so I have to do.
Well,
the
that's what
search
I'm
back.
saying, we probably should have a repository for just policies and procedures,
And
and then the handbook that has the bylaws and that type of more corporate stuff. And then as things are changed or added, it would be up to the individual trustee to make sure they are
Well, I think
incorporated.
2 things, right? I think there should be a physical handbook that's handed out to new
Mhm.
members when they come. I think we've got a lot of policies and stuff that need to be reviewed by PEP committee, so we're in agreement as to what goes out. I think not only should, the physical book be handed out, but I think the most up-to-date copy electronically should be sent, at least to all of us this time, and then to new members. Because I agree with you, I have lots of bags that say library on it, and I have to dig through it, it's like, oh, this was this from 2008. Oh, this was that from that.
Yeah,
But when I search on my laptop for the most current clean copy of the code of conduct, you know I'm gonna start on my laptop, so.
And,
I think
I
those
was,
two
gonna
things.
say, having like a place, that maybe even just so we can access that, you just, list all the policies and you just click on the link for, if you're looking for a certain one, that way the handbook is just like, pulling.
Well, and again, because again, my own laziness, but if I get a new policy, like you have a new policy about banned books. And you hand it to me here and I take it home and it's all good intentions, I'm gonna slide it into that notebook. Cause it's somewhere in that box, so it gets put into another folder, so I have like 3 or 4 places.
I think
where
we're all
things are
guilty.
ended up.
Well, I certainly know I am.
So,
This
Well, we
folder.
have to figure that part out.
yeah,
So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the marching orders for
Yep.
PEP is to kind of get a handle on everything and then figure out what makes sense to pass out in a physical form and, but then.
Diane, it's Anna. I have my hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Anna.
Somewhere I am.
Let's see, 2 things. So do you remember who the keeper of the electronic version is? I thought somebody on the board was doing it at one time. It wasn't me.
Electronic version of what?
The handbook.
I don't think there was a key.
I have, what I know is the latest copy before Laurel. So, I will share that with the group and they can kick off from there.
Okay, the other thing is I'm sitting here and my phone pinged and Andy Brecker used the link like I did and he hasn't been invited to join the board because he's had his hand up, but I don't think anybody can see him. I can't see him. So I don't know if Karen can check to see if somebody's waiting.
He didn't come in on.
Looks like he's an attendee, not a panelist, is what I'm seeing on my screen.
Yeah, I don't even see that.
So is there a different place that they're connected?
So the link that goes out is for panelists. So Anna, did you use the link that we sent you?
The link that I used was on the agenda.
Okay, so you're not using the email that says Town of Newington 5, the invite for the panelists to join? Because that gets you.
I don't even know where that is. I saw it on the agenda and I used that link.
So just for a moment for everybody, I don't know if you could promote Andy because then we can let.
See him. I'm looking for him.
So the idea is that, when you get that TON5 Newington, sometimes it's TON4. If you open that email, scroll down, it says join the webinar. So if you're gonna join remotely, click on that. That automatically joins you as a panelist, AKA a board member, right? And you can join that way. If you click on the link on the agenda that's there, you're the same as anybody that pulls this down from, the town website. So if you're gonna do that, somehow we have to know to promote you. And that, that's perfectly feasible if you can't get on the other way or you don't have your emails or whatever and you're on the fly doing that. But as a rule of thumb, you should go to your emails, and take that TON Newington, sometimes it's a
Yeah.
4, sometimes it's a 5. Open it up, click on join the webinar.
Right.
Not just the first highlighted link, because that's to ask questions. I know about that, because that's the link I click on more times than I'd like to admit. So go to the little blue box that says, join the webinar.
Can I add to that, Diane? Just, Andy, once I start
Is it on
sharing
now?
the
Okay.
screen, I can't see, and, I can only see people that are on. So I actually have to kind of know if somebody's out there and needs to be promoted, that's all, or it's helpful. And I think maybe what I'll do is, I know Anna has it, maybe I'll just give you my cell phone number or something.
Well, it also helps if you join earlier.
Yeah.
Because then we can start to see things as it comes up. So,
Thank
it doesn't.
You got me in.
Okay. But again, use that, TON email.
Yeah, I thought I did, but in that TON web meeting 5, was there more than one way to join? I just
You
did
open
join
it up,
webinar.
say join webinar, you clicked on that box.
Yeah, passcode 212037.
Or was that for the race? Did you?
Did you access that from your email, Andy?
Yeah, Library Board of Trustees regular meeting, 7 p.m.
Oh, that's weird.
Okay.
What time did you join?
7.
Let me talk to IT about that.
All right.
That's odd.
Okay, sorry to be a bother.
I might have,
No,
there's
no,
more,
yeah.
there's more water glasses in there if you want.
I will update Pauline and
Okay, thank you.
I could have, I might have not, I don't remember.
All right.
What was that, George?
George, what did you
Sorry,
say?
no, I got a question from my wife, sorry, was answering her, sorry.
If you'd like, you could throw it to the board, we'll all answer. Okay, especially if she didn't like your answer, we might have a different flavor on that. Ask mom, ask dad. Okay, so, I think we're done with PEP. Andy, welcome to the meeting. Sorry for that confusion. And then we'll move on to investment. Kelly?
I don't think I have anything more than what Leanne and we've touched on during treasury.
To rename them, sorry,
Yeah.
just have our report.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're working on renaming it but they are segregated now. We'll start being able to track it as a separate account.
Entity.
Yep, and that will make things a lot cleaner.
So the only thing I wanted to add was when I saw the report come out, and not the main one, but I think the other two, the Hanel and I can't remember what the other one is offhand. But it was like, there was 2024 dates in for years out, past.
Oh, I'll
past
check that,
the few months.
yep. I got
Like
it.
October, I think.
I started, moving back in time.
You just want to give them this,
I think technically you need a DeLorean to move back in time.
that he's in.
Formally.
No, you won't get to it. Okay.
88 miles per hour.
Okay, are we
Halfway through the
good?
year, I went backwards.
Are we good? Good, okay. Thank you, Kelly. House committee, remediation. I think we know, where we stand with that, remediation. I apologize, I did not send out an updated copy of the walkthrough list. I will physically hold it up and then I'll send it out to you, but you can see that it's half a page. And where you see the green highlighting, these are all things that are gonna happen in the spring. And, facilities has work orders, on them and they'll come through and put it up. So, some of the things are, it's just stuff that you don't do in the middle of the winter. You're not gonna scrape and paint a window in January. So now that the time is up, Carolyn McLean and, the rest of the staff have meetings set up, to discuss those things. A couple of things, we're not quite sure how we're going to work with them because they're in the older parts of the building, which means that we might have some issues to deal with like lead or something else like that. So it's gonna be a little bit longer, a little bit more careful remediation. It's not just get out your ladder and your scraper and your paint and do that. So, that's some of the things that are going on there. One of the other things that comes up is the sidewalk out front. It's uneven, so shaving it, do we do reflective tape or whatever, that's one of the, things that we're gonna have one of the engineers, I guess, look at. But, Facilities is aware, and they, you know, they have been very responsive, with this. The other thing that I can tell you is that, Leanne and I did a little field trip over the weekend. Unfortunately, Joanne Fabrics is going out of sale. And we made the most of it by running over there and looking at some fabric, and, we had previously had monies approved for the purchase of fabric. And we found some fabric that we think we can work with on these two windows. $200, was it?
It was $191, and we have 4 yards of upholstery fabric, which is 54 inches wide. That's why I wanted to see it in person, plus colors never show up on the internet properly. And also back, lining, basically to black out, so that you're not seeing lots of fabric design as you're walking in on the back. Basically balances, and some additional backing fabric, because we have the extra fabric that upholstered the chairs for the other areas. We've been held up, because it's just a meeting of facilities needs to come in and help us. We can't just have Dave take these down. Those curtain rods are mounted in a certain way. Facilities has to be part of the process. So they have a lot to do, and curtain rods are a lot farther down the thing, but I can't start sewing until I know what type of curtain rod we have, but we can at least get this, because even if I'm being extremely optimistic and saying we're gonna have a new library in 3 years, these things, if you touch them, they will crumble at the touch. So we have to have something in place here for at least a couple of years. So
So worth the, $200 in your labor, to do that,
it
so.
just keeps me out
Thank
of
you.
trouble. There's nothing on television and I can only read so much.
As that goes through. So, those are really the updates for House Committee. Are any questions or thoughts from folks? No? Thank you. Facility and site, Christopher Riley.
All right, so, as we had the presentation, Lark had the presentation in front of town council on February 25th. Leanne and I presented, Eric Hinckley, chair of Lark, introduced us, but we took up the bulk of the work and everything, and I appreciate everyone who had come to show your support during the meeting. I think overall it went pretty well. I mean, a lot of feedback seemed positive. I mean, they're obviously, you know, bringing up, we knew price was gonna be a concern. And before our presentation in late spring, early summer to request to be on referendum, we still have work to do, such as, you know, looking back at, you know, what various options we had and why they may or why they wouldn't work, or why we went the way we did. You know, phasing was brought up. We did point out about the amount of work that the facilities department has done to maintain a lot of the library, but also, as I said, that kind of points out the scope of how much has had to been done for the library. So just getting, you know, some more information on that, I think. And just, you know, in general, I think just working on the presentation to get it more, I'll say more detailed before the referendum, be able to answer a lot of the questions I think that were raised by the town council. Had a lot of good feedback, I think, that night. So we've been going through a lot of that. As Diane had mentioned a little bit before, Leanne, Diane, and I had met with the architect this just past Friday, just to give them an update on where the presentation, we gave the presentation, what the feedback was, kind of the stuff that, you know, everyone seems to be kind of looking for. I passed along to them the presentation as well as the link to the YouTube, so that they could view the presentation and get the feedback themselves.
Was Andrew on the call?
Andrew was on the call, and Vinci was, yeah.
Andrew Berman.
Yeah.
Just like we have lots of Chris's, we have lots of Andrews.
And one of the other things that were the architect is also helping is gonna be set up at least some initial meetings with some program management firms to kind of help us with the planning and getting through from now to referendum, kind of that pathway, because we want to kind of bring in, you know, possibly some expertise, you know, that we don't personally have, you know, going, you know, from, you know, for a project this large and everything like that, just having someone else, you know, kind of help, you know, guide and help us figure out marketing was a big aspect, I think, of that. So, so that's kind of in the works right now, being set up. Update on communication. I had that frequently asked questions sheet that I've sent out to everyone before. Pam, thank you for your comments. I've worked a lot of those in. I've worked in, I think, Andrew, Brecker had sent in a comment as well, and, just kind of the feedback since we've updated the presentation as well, I just kind of went through and tweaked, so, just kind of reviewing it a little bit, internally, and then I was gonna send it out as, I'll say, revision A to the group. Because as I said, I want to kind of keep everyone on the same page with what we're saying. So, so I was just trying to collect a few things before I sent out another revision. And the only other thing that I had was I looked at, I've been looking through the suggestions that we've gotten. I know I talked to Lisa at the Handle concert about getting me some more. But a lot of the ones I've looked at, it's a lot of the stuff that we've already been in discussions about, the Friends area, having, with the makerspace, having, there was parking was one of the things people keep bringing up, art and culture. I mean, there were a couple of other ideas that were different. I mean, I saw like, having a quiet windowless room for, like, breastfeeding, private phone calls, prayers, something like that. There was a one in there about foreign DVDs, having a country of origin sticker on them and everything, if, having, maybe that as part of the selection. So there were a few ones that were different, but I think it seemed like a lot of the stuff, we were already on that track of what a lot of people have been suggesting, so.
Of course, our challenge is that our suggestion box is in the library, so our
Yes.
second challenge is to reach out to others. The time that we've done the survey at Extravaganza, when it gets the non-library users, aware and maybe willing to give us some feedback.
Yeah, it could be good, because that was one of the comments, it was a good comment that was brought up, is that, it's great that we're getting everyone who already uses the library on board with this and liking it and providing their feedback, but, to get this through, we really need to be able to convince the people who don't use the library of why they should, potentially spend money on new buildings. So.
Well, there are audiences that we can reach out to that I go back to when I was cheerleading some of the school editions. PTA went to places like the Historical Society and the Senior Center. These are populations that may use the library, but not as a whole. And if we bring our trifold and into the book sale, or if we have where we're hitting many people who come out in the community, or something at the senior center where if we get a program on one of arranged so that people are in there, because there's a lot of people in the senior center during the day, again, to go and bring them the same presentation, because they maybe didn't watch it at the town council, or they're not going to watch it for a public hearing or whatever, but we can go out and do that. These are audiences that we can go out to, and a lot of these folks don't, what you find, it's kind of like when we found with the schools, people don't know what's happening because they're not in the schools or they're not here at the library. But if you say to them, there's a library of things and you can borrow a toolbox, there's gonna be people go, I can do that at the library? I mean, those are the kind of people that we have to start reaching out to. And that's just two populations that occur to me. The other thing is, I don't know if it would be worthwhile, but maybe through the website, could we set up a suggestion aspect? I don't know if it would be helpful, but people may, I don't know about other people. I'm kind of one of those people on Facebook who just read. I don't post a lot. But from our own Lucy Robbins Wells Library site, I think little things like 262,000 pieces were taken out in the collection last year. Or did you know last year there were 3,000 whatever programs for adults? And then maybe something like, but just a sentence, just one fact, and because those are the things that people read. If it's this long, I tend to go right by it, but if it's just one thing, I read it. That might be a campaign we can go to. And
Did you know campaign?
yeah.
And I see Anna has a hand up, and Pam, you have a question.
Yeah, go to Anna, it's okay.
Anna? You have your
Yeah,
hand up?
thanks. I did, thank you. So, yeah, I'm sorry that I'm on vacation and missed the meeting. It would have been, good to be there in person. But I want to say thank you to George for sending out his summation after the LARC presentation. about, next steps.
Chris.
Chris.
No,
Or, oh, no,
no,
George, no, George did
George
send out
did?
feedback, I think,
Yeah,
as well,
George.
yeah.
Both
thank
sides.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, separate, this is separate, this is things to do. So George sent it out, Chris added to it, Chris Riley added to it, Chris Shuhan commented, Andy commented, Maureen commented. And I just want to say that, the comments are all great, but we're reinventing the wheel. We went through this whole process of what our next steps are back in 2016. And I know it sounds like it was like eons ago, but the steps are the steps, and maybe some things have to be changed, but I sent out that ALA overview 3 times to the board, and it's like I never sent it. And I would just suggest that, somebody take the time to go and look. I sent it on May 1st, 2024, May 14th, 2024, and November 12th, 2024.
Anna?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't wanna interrupt here, but I have read through that, and I've been trying to incorporate pieces of that and pieces of the feedback from the board as well into the plan. I may not be following the ALA plan exactly, but a lot of it is the steps that we're already following. So I have read through it, and I have tried to use what from what it has and everything like that, and adapt it to what we've been trying to do as well.
Okay, all right. I hadn't heard that. I mean, I heard you made a comment that we need to, hire a consultant, and I don't disagree. But, it's a concept that we had talked about 8 years ago when the pause button was hit for us. So, hiring somebody to come in and help, because none of us have the skill set or the time or the ultra motivation that's needed to get all of this coalesced and moving forward. Yeah, we do need somebody, but a lot of this has already been thought about before, so it's not like this whole process is brand new to those of us who have been sitting on the board trying to get something going for a number of years already. And I just wanted to point it out, because some of it sounded like, that report. I appreciate you telling me that you've been looking at that report, because I wasn't sure that anybody was bothering to even look at it. So thank you.
No, but as I said, I had read through it and everything and had made some notes, and then, as I said, I also been kind of just taken from where we are and knowing what steps that, we specifically have, and trying to incorporate all that together, so.
Well, hopefully we'll get to the point where we hire somebody and they can, come up with a step-by-step plan that we need to incorporate. Leanne just mentioned, we should be going here, we should be going there. All those organizations have been identified before. We just need to, pull it back up and put action behind the steps.
We have more questions in the room. Thank you, Anna. Pam?
So at the town council meeting, they were talking about options.
Yes.
What does that mean? Specifically.
Specifically, I mean, Leanne, I know you had that kind of.
The options, I think what they're looking for it, and there was a comparative coming up. It's apples to oranges, but people were comparing last year's Parks and Rec pool project to ours. There are some differences, and there's significant differences in the sense that, the development portion of the pools, although there had been a committee in place, the particular option they were dealing with was relatively short term. So people had questions regarding that. The fact that there were no other options put forward, that's not saying that they didn't consider them, but they weren't put forward for people to see. And that they feel worked against the passing of that particular referendum. When they were asking for is, can you tell us options and phasing? We've talked to the architect, we will talk to the project consultant as well, but phasing in the particular design that we have and the incorporation, the problem that you have is if you phase it, we potentially end up with a smaller building than what we have now because it's only funded partially. And then you're saying, well, don't worry, we're gonna fund the second part. If you phase it, you have to, the ideal is to get money for the whole. You just build it in phases, and that's how it's designed to be built. But it's not a case of you build the first part and then in a couple of years we'll come back and do the second, because that just doesn't typically happen. But the way this particular design is, that addresses the needs that we have come up with and that we feel that need to be addressed, phasing isn't the optimal way, because you can't just, like, we don't even have a door if you wanted to try and use that front portion as the library during the course of, while you're adding on after you take off this side of the building. So phasing, we're getting a better explanation rather than my rambling like this right now as to why phasing isn't the optimal. It doesn't mean it can't be that way, but it does change the design. And you do have to have a cost, and costs increase with phasing. Phasing is done more for, accessibility during the course of construction, so that you can move from place to place within the building. The options that we're talking about, we have considered various options. 2008, when we did the shovel ready, Lisa has actually the big boards that we have with the plan and then the drawing, which had a kind of a gabled entranceway that faced where the parking lot is. And that was before the new parking lot. So we have those and we have that drawing. That's a one level option, I believe, or one floor level. When we came back and readdressed it in 2015, 16, et cetera, things had changed in terms of the needs and wants of the community and what a library of the future looked like. So those were integrated into that. So you can't really compare 2008 to 2015, 16 to then 2024. What they do show in the options, and we can show this, is the growth between and what changed. One of the significant changes between 2018 and 2024 were all the things that came up with COVID.
Right.
That we had to integrate into the building that is now expected in a public space. So we can show the changes. You could potentially square foot it by a dollar amount. But what you're saying is, if you're gonna compare 2024 to 2008, you're not addressing all the needs because the needs have changed. And also, we were not planning in 2008 to be as multi-purpose flexible as we have increasingly become. But we can show the growth structure and show that we have looked at all these things and we do have dollar values.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think, it's getting back to the other project was, just making sure, I think transparency is a key thing, is making sure that we show, hey, we have looked at various options over the years. And this is why we feel that this is the best option, but not hiding that there were other options looked at over time with the library itself and everything. So I think that's one of the key things. It seems like transparency keeps, seeming to come up.
I think transparency and education, right?
Yeah.
Because we're sitting here, those of us who have been on the board, talking about, well, remember in the 2008 plan, remember this and remember that. But everybody in the community is not aware of those things. So that's, that's the part of the education along with the transparency.
We're pulling the files in those boxes of paper I have, but Lisa's got some stuff that's more accessible. So we can pull those and provide those to our consultants so that they can analyze and give us their input. We can take a look at them because we all have to go back and either learn about them if we weren't here in the process or refresh ourselves. The other thing is that we have an option that, this is something we need to probably come back to in facilities and determine, but there is always the possibility, and I did see a couple of comments, or hear some comments, that there's an option that hasn't been discussed in the public eye, but it has been discussed with the board, which is the potential of taking, remember, we only have this 2-acre parcel. It's not like can move down the street or buy something else or whatever. This is our 2-acre parcel to work with. Keeping that front facade, which the board has come down very heavily that they want to keep the historical aspect of this. There is the potential of taking the whole thing down and putting up a new library. Now, I'm not saying that that's what, but I'm saying it is an option that people will ask us if we have considered, so we need to have the answers to that.
I think the public would lose their mind. Because a lot of the people that have come through have said, I hope you're gonna maintain that.
And I completely agree with you, but there are others who will turn around and say, construction cost wise, and now I'm taking off my, I love the library hat. I'm telling you from a construction aspect, that if you turn around and you're melding old with new, renovations and integrations of systems can make some challenge in terms of design, but also cost. The heat in the basement is a perfect example. They're still going to, we're gonna have new systems and things like that, so that that building is basically new, but appears old. But there's a cost to keeping that versus taking it down and building it up. Perfect example is the town hall. Keeping that old building was going to cost more, and you still have an old building. So the option that was chosen was basically phasing, put up a new where the parking lot was, then take down the old. So I'm just saying is that that's gonna be an option that, but don't be surprised if you're questioned about it.
We better all be on the same page on that one.
I know where I am, but I'm just saying is that we need to be prepared with appropriate answers as to why we are recommending something different.
Maureen, did you have a question or something you wanted to say?
I simply wanted to compliment Chris and Leanne
Yeah.
on a great job.
It was really good.
And, it didn't sound rehearsed.
No.
It wasn't canned. I was just so impressed, so pleased. And I think, the reaction from the council reflected how you all presented. So thank you.
Not easy to go up and like speak for everyone. And if anybody did miss it, if you go to Newington YouTube and you look for the date, you can see the presentation on that. And for anybody that still has Cox cable, you can go on to the NCTV channels and see it there. Okay, any other questions or thoughts for facilities? No? Okay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone. I know there was a lot of work on that, and I think the presentation did go well. Communications. George, do we have anything on communications at this point?
Diane, did you
No,
skip
the-
fund development?
Oh,
You skip.
sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm looking at two different agendas here.
The screen has it backwards.
Oh.
I see
Okay,
fund
so-
development on the screen. Is it in this
And
turn
then
or?
fund development. So why don't we go with George right now, and then I'll bring in fund development.
Okay. I just know that Chris, we're gonna schedule a meeting, right, with, the facility and site. With our team for communications, and then the facility and site, we'll schedule that. This month, and then we'll go from there. We'll try to figure out next step. That's all I have to add for communications.
Great. Thanks, George. Okay, now I'll go to fund development. Sorry, Anna, I didn't mean to cut you out, but my printed agenda
No.
doesn't, well,
No, we have two different versions in front of us.
yeah. All right, fund development, Anna Eddy. It's all brand new.
Okay, so the, last month we approved the new sections for the, what is it? Sorry, we approved the new webpage for the website and the addition to the summary, and that information's been passed on to Lisa. So we're just waiting for, her to have time to be able to do that. And when I get back from vacation, I will be reviewing what's still open on our to-do list for the committee and reach out to the committee for the next phase of recommendations. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Anna. Any questions for Anna on fund development? Timeline, no, thank you. Nominations, this is not the time, so I'm gonna skip over that. And then I have communications again. We already had that one. Quite the agenda. And it's my fault because I approved the agenda, so. Oh, it's our fault, it's not. The whole world. So, old business, Newington 5K road race. Chris was able to find a possible DJ for the race.
Yeah.
And, if you were at the race meeting, you heard a little bit of discussion, and I think at that point, the thought was to continue discussion, with Mark the Shark.
Mark the Shark, yeah.
And, maybe at this meeting, just so that we could keep things rolling along, we would entertain a proposal of a not to exceed amount, with a 3-hourly, rate or something to see if we can lock it, and if his schedule will work with our schedule, if he's got the, mobile mic, the wireless mic, and a sound system that we can use for awards.
I will make a motion that we, engage Mark the Shark as our DJ with a not to exceed figure of $400. That would allow 3 hours and potentially rental of the, sound system for our needs.
I would only amend that to be Mark Shark Entertainment, I guess that's the actual
Okay,
name of the company.
Mark Shark Entertainment
Okay.
for the, race on the 18th.
I second the motion.
Great. Any questions or discussions on this?
I just want to say thank you to to Chris for reaching out and finding a new DJ for us, because that price is very comparable to what we were paying in the past, as opposed to one of the quotes I got from a larger vendor, which I shared with Diane, which knocked our socks off. So it was like 5 times the amount. So thank you.
Having a wedding.
Yeah.
All right,
So do we have to ask
Thank
for
you.
everyone to approve?
so
Yeah.
any other questions or comments? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So do you want me to reach out to him to let him know someone will be?
Motion passed.
Okay, so-
Welcome.
You're gonna figure out all those things with the questions, and if he answers them correctly, then you're gonna tell him that we would like to engage him, and then Karen, you guys have a contract, right? So
Yeah.
Karen would have a contract
Okay,
that he would sign with us.
And I need his
and go
W-9.
through. Sorry, what, yeah?
I need his W-9.
And we need the W-9 form.
okay.
for him. Okay. Hanel, we kind of talked about the Hanel event, and then we got into discussion about different venues and maybe, trying to look to capture some other, age groups. For that, and just for those that, are relatively new, we're not gonna say that next year, I'm just gonna say catch up. But, so we have had a lot of concerts under Hanel, but we've also done things like the history of books, and then we had like an arts and craftsy kind of thing where we made little books. I made a book.
We had an improv event.
I'm not arts and craftsy. We had, an improv company come and they kind of did the clues, like you went around to the library in different places and did clues and figured out what's happening. So we are open to suggestions. Anna and Maureen have reached out a lot to try and find different things, different places, different ideas. So if you have an idea, if you have a need that you think we wanna get into it, we can do that. Our endowment says that we have to have 2 events a year.
At least, right?
Please.
No, we
can
have to
it-
have 2
we have to
events
have
a
two.
year. We can have
But we
more.
can do more.
On our 80th anniversary, we did 8. Please, let's not do 8 again.
And if you say 9 on 90.
We'll have to do a division.
Yeah.
But, again, think about it. You go someplace, you read about something, you hear something from somebody, that says, hey, you've never, we did this, it was great. Whether it's a performer or an event or whatever. If we can fit it into that cultural footprint, it's somebody we can talk to and figure out. And, within reason, we can bring anybody in.
Well, Anna is always on the lookout. Anna, do you want to speak to that event that you went to at Parks? Parks and
Sure.
Rec?
Sure. So, I don't know how many of you know, but the town hall gym is at Parks and Rec is open 3 times a week for walkers, and my husband and I have been walking there. So we walked in one Friday, and it wasn't announced to us, but the entire place was filled with entertainment vendors. The town was hosting a program, an expo for other parks and recs, and all these vendors were there and promoting themselves, magicians, musicians, just all sorts of people. So I took advantage and I walked around and I went back after lunch and actually sat in on a couple of performances and wrote up a couple of lists. I did one that was youth related and sent that information to Lisa and Karen to pass on to the children's department for their review. And I had recently seen a couple of young authors online and, made recommendations for those. So for the children's department, we proposed a bunch of things, and even if they came up with their own thing, they need to come to us and ask us if we would approve the funding from the Hanel Fund for one of the children's events. So, it would be better if they selected who they would want to bring in. Maureen and I listened to a number of different performers online. We are culling the information that I got at this last at this Parks and Rec program, and it was interesting that you brought up something, Chris Shushan. I'm down here in North Carolina, and this is Gullah Week, or last month was Gullah month. I don't know if you know what Gullah is, but it's
Yeah.
the black slave trade that settled in this region. And boy, I wish we were closer. There was a group that we went to see that was just absolutely fabulous, that not only sang, but they gave the history, the Gullah history, the traditions, the culture. And even with everything that Maureen and I are reviewing, I went, well, I wonder if there's a group up around our area that would do the same thing. So we're always on the lookout, but we're always open to ideas from, other board members. If you see someone and, that you think would be great, it would be nice to fit it in. Part of the problem though is with the staffing. We could, 2 events a year. I mean, the year that we did the 8 events, that was a huge push on the staff. It was, there was almost 1 event a month. And the months that we didn't have a performer, they were doing book sales or Winterfest. So, we tried to be cognizant of their time as well. And we try to work around their schedules, asking, what month would be best for them. And this year it happened to be March. So we hadn't had a Celtic performer in a long time. So that's who we went with. I don't know, Maureen, did he come in alone or did he come in with his partner? Do you know?
And
He was
I
alone.
couldn't attend, but
He was by himself, and he,
Oh.
we acted as his roadies.
Okay. So I when I watched online, I thought he was a little bit more engaging when he was with his partner that he performs with, but I wasn't at, Maureen did that. I didn't have that one-to-one interaction myself with him on if he was coming solo or with somebody else. But but he's a great local performer, and we were looking for somebody who was going to do Irish music in March. We're looking for someone towards the latter part of the year again, because that works best for the staff. And we have to be careful with who we bring in, because we don't want to just keep repeating what we've done in the past. I mean, this last time we had that young trio that came in a cappella, and they were wonderful. I mean, I personally enjoyed them, tremendously, but we don't want to be a copycat every time we do a performance. So we're looking at different options, and and we always bring it before the board before we hire somebody. So, the
Right.
board has to
So
have a
let's
chance
just-
to input.
Let's just kind of wrap this up a little bit and say, we're open to anything. So bring ideas.
And we also have
Other-
a lot of
The other thing that I would like to say, and I'll come to you guys,
possibilities.
I see two hands up with questions. But the Hanel event, we keep saying, we can only do it certain times with the staff, and part of that is that we have to close down the library. The other part is that we have to be committed to be there. Now, this year seemed to be like a perfect storm. A lot of folks couldn't show up. When we talked about it, I could be there, then I had to have a procedure and I couldn't be there Friday, and I know that happened for a lot of folks. But we need to have commitment from board members to help, whether it's setup, attendance, and afterwards. At the very least, you should attend, but even if you attend, you should come early, stay late, help, do something. It's important for us to be there, and it's important for us to support that. So whether it's with suggestions or anything else, I know everybody can't make every Hanel event. And like I said, this last Friday seemed to be a perfect storm, but it's a board event, the board should be there. Pam?
Yeah, Anna, to your Gullah thing that you were talking about, UConn
Yeah.
offers a program in
Sorry?
Gullah. UConn has a class every semester on Gullah basket weaving. So
Oh.
they might be a contact for some
Okay.
sort of,
Well, we can talk offline.
okay.
Thank you.
Leanne, you have your hand up?
I just wanted to give a comment about, the program on Friday. It was not your typical pub Celtic music. It was much more, of a Celtic, ballad type of thing. But, it was very much enjoyed by, several people came up to me and said they really enjoyed it. The total attendance, there was 100 people signed up, but when, it was counted, it was 85. That's still a pretty good sized group in there, and the people who were there seemed to enjoy it. So we move on from there, but I do have one thing that kind of rides into Hanel. We had talked about potentially funding other programs from the Hanel in the future if there wasn't funding available. I am pleased to tell you that under the SLEVA, which is basically the group we were talking about, which does the 3rd and 4th grade programs at the elementary school with the authors every year, which would fall under the cultural aspect of it. The SLEVA family, the daughter donated at the beginning of this month, $7,000 to cover the program. And she said she will do her best to do so to keep it going in the future if she's able. So, I mean, at this point, that was a huge nut to put into the program because it was going to really kind of take down because the authors are just getting more and more expensive. Bailey's very much prepared to be creative in terms of maybe not spending as much, but the author costs have gone up extensively, particularly after COVID. It seems like the dollars are high. While we can use Hanel in the future for those type of things, I did want to tell you that SLEVA at this point is still self-funding.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so, moving on from there, we do still have a board position open. I believe it's the one corporate position.
We have two, don't?
I think there's a Republican. I thought there was a Republican. How many Republicans? I thought we had
Three.
Three.
We have
we have the 3 Republicans
I
here.
thought it was the
I think we
Democrat.
have the Democrat, because Neil
It's
resigned.
because Pauline mentioned that Friday night. There's a Democrat and a corporate.
That's what I think. Dem and corporate. If you know of anyone who would like to come out and have fun with us, please put their names forward. Anybody have a name right off the top of their head?
Put them into the minutes.
I didn't want to go too fast, but, just if you have somebody, if you know someone, say something, right?
Somebody.
Then we'll move on to new business, and I think this is where we need to, vote to update the
You want me to
signatures.
phrase the motion?
Why don't you, Leanne, if you would be so kind as to phrase the motion?
Change of signatures for the TD bank accounts, the small business premium money market account ending in 7002. And the business premier checking ending in 6963. Changing the signatures from Diane Stam, president, Maureen Lyons, Vice President, Leanne Mankey, Treasurer, to Diane Stam, President, Christopher Riley, Vice President, Leanne Mankey, Treasurer.
May I have a second? Second. You don't want to repeat that, Pam? No. I'm good. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Pam. Any questions?
Well, I should probably amend it, specifically removing Maureen, as the word removal was supposed to be said somewhere in there, so,
Okay.
sorry. I don't mean to, you could stay if you want.
So basically what we do is we have 3 signatory powers on the board. It's the president, the vice president, and the treasurer. Now that the vice president's officers have changed, we're updating the actual signatures on file with the banks. Don't worry, I've never signed it. I think I signed
Takes 2 minutes.
2 checks, and it was 10 years ago. And it was, we were changing treasurers, so the treasurer didn't have signatory powers yet. So, I'm not writing checks. All right, so you've got the removal in that statement. Any discussion? No? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Once we have those minutes, I'll share them with you, Leanne, and you can share them with the bank.
And then Christopher, you can enroll. Please. Any other questions?
Andy, you have your hand up, you have a question?
Just under new business, if I could bring up
Yes.
something, I tried to bring it up before, but I was invisible. Karen, is there an issue right now with library connection? I downloaded 3 books on Saturday, put them on my Kindle, and opened them all up to make sure they were working. And today they got returned. And I had to do it all again. Is this an issue you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of.
When does your library card expire? Does that
That's
have
a
anything to
very
do with
good
it?
question. I don't know. I mean, it let
Yes.
me download them again. I borrowed them again.
Not that I'm aware of, but let me check into it. That's bizarre.
One thing to look, I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but I know recently Kindle changed their terms of use with both ebooks as well, so I don't know if that impacts.
It shouldn't, but who knows?
I know Steve mentioned Kindle, so that's what.
Yeah. Oh, I see. You're talking about actually for the Kindle. Yeah. Okay. I have one.
So you downloaded it from the library website and you said you wanted to play it on Kindle rather than Libby? And
Well,
you took it back?
I went through Libby, which directs you to Library Connection, and then downloaded from there. Everything was fine, just like it always has been. So much to my
Right, so you
surprise
reached
this
down to
afternoon, when I was informed that my the borrowing had been not terminated, but expired. I forget what the term is, but my period of borrowing was up. So I
You
just
got a notification of that, Andy? Is that, I just want to make sure I understand it right. You got a notification
yes.
on your Kindle that it was, okay.
No, I got an email that said your library loan has ended.
Okay, and so that was on Kindle, so you're using Libby, you're reading Libby on Kindle?
Yes.
Or are you just only using Libby?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but I select the books on Libby, say I want to borrow them. Then I'm asked if I want to read them on Kindle, and I respond yes. And then it downloads to my Kindle. I open it up on the Kindle, and usually it's seamless. And this was as well until I got the message today that says, your books have been returned.
Okay. And that message was in Kindle, not in Libby. Did you look at it in Libby?
No, it was an email.
Oh,
And when I went to my Kindle, those books were no longer available.
Okay,
Definitely library connection.
Yeah.
Okay,
all right.
Okay,
I will check.
thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate it. Okay, so we did the signatures, public participation. Is there anybody online?
There was nobody on.
Okay, I don't see anybody in the room. Dave, is there anything else you wanted to bring up? Okay, last point. I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second.
So I got a Leanne and then a Kelly. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you, everyone. See you next month. Did we decide that was April 14th?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time. I hope everybody stays.